The worst locust crisis in decades is ravaging East Africa, threatening the food supply for millions of people. Kenya, Somalia, and Ethiopia are at the center of this latest outbreak. You can see in this video just how massive the locust swarms have been across the region.
These bugs have infested farmland and destroyed crops. Farmers are calling on the international community to help prevent a food crisis. The United Nations says the region needs around $76 million to combat the crisis. Officials warn the locust outbreak will spread across the entire continent of Africa and into other parts of the world if action isn't taken.
This is a very rare phenomena, but once it does occur, it becomes extremely threatening to food securities, livelihoods, pastures, and of course, with pastures, if herders have to move animals into new areas, that this can be sources of conflict.
Well, as you just mentioned, $76 million bad. That's how much the United Nations says it needs to combat this outbreak. And they're making no bones about it. They need that money now. It's the worst in 70 years for Kenya and in quarter of a century for Somalia and Ethiopia. And just to give you a sense of how big these swarms are, one was spotted in a part of Kenya that contained about 200 billion of these creatures, and in the sky it occupied a space 3 times the size of New York City. And as the Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN has warned, they could increase 500-fold by June if not contained and checked immediately and spread elsewhere. Now, part of the problem is that these locusts are very difficult to track. They move very quickly, but they're not just a scary invasion. They also eat food. Even a small swarm of locusts can consume enough food for 35,000 people, and farmers are complaining that about 90% of their crops have already been destroyed. The locusts are now moving towards Uganda and towards South Sudan. South Sudan already under terrible, terrible strain from food insecurity. And if you consider that over 20 million people in East Africa are already facing food shortages due to periodic drought and flooding, you have a very serious problem when locusts start eating their only source of food. These locusts were actually spotted 18 months ago in the Arabian Peninsula. They then moved to Yemen by July last year, and already the FAO was warning that if left unchecked, if preventative measures were not put in place, they would then move to Kenya. Well, they weren't, and now they're in Kenya. And what contributed to this was unusually wet, rainy seasons, which created this exceptional breeding ground for locusts. They thrive after rainy weather because there's so much food to eat, and they grow very, very quickly. They only live 3 to 5 months, but in that time, a population can absolutely explode if left unchecked, and that is what actually happened in this particular instance.
Overnight news, the first American has died from the mysterious coronavirus. The U.S. Embassy confirming to NBC News a 60-year-old who'd contracted the virus in Wuhan died Thursday. And this morning, growing fears the virus may be spreading here at home. According to the CDC, at Travis Air Force Base near San Francisco, 5 evacuees rescued from the epicenter earlier this week have been rushed to local hospitals after showing symptoms. Aboard the Diamond Princess, more than 60 confirmed cases, including at least a dozen Americans. In total, more than 3,700 passengers and crew either quarantined on the ship or hospitalized. Another cruise liner quarantined off the coast of Hong Kong. And in Newark, New Jersey, 4 Chinese nationals escorted off a Royal Caribbean cruise, some on stretchers, even though they showed no symptoms of the virus.
Antarctica has just had its hottest day ever recorded. The temperature rose to 18.3 degrees Celsius. That was at an Argentine research base. It's on the Antarctic Peninsula, jutting up towards South America, and that part of the continent has warmed much faster than the global average over the past 50 years, causing glaciers to shrink by 87%. Now, scientists fear global warming will eventually disintegrate the ice sheet across the entire South Pole, and that will cause sea levels worldwide to rise by at least 3 meters.
It's really important. This temperature record from the Argentine base has been really powerful for us. It's allowed us to say whether the changes that are happening in Antarctica, in this part of the continent, are short-term fluctuations or a long-term trend, and it's definitely the latter. But they also, very much like the Canadian fires at the moment, give us a glimpse into the future and how different parts of the world will be in just a few decades' time.
And are we just talking a matter of years, a matter of decades now? I mean, or do you think this is reversible in some way?
So we've learned a lot about how ice responds to changes in climate just because of this particular part of the planet. At the northern tip of the Antarctic Peninsula, there are a series of ice shelves, and they're really floating extensions of glaciers into the sea, and they've broken away over the past 2 or 3 decades. We didn't think that that was possible until it started to happen, and that's an irreversible process. They won't grow back again for 1,000 years, and this is the first time it's happened in 10,000 years. So this is definitely a signal of dramatic change happening in our lifetimes.
A horrific shooting rampage overseas. Officials say a soldier in northern Thailand, armed with an assault rifle, opened fire in a number of locations. This security cam footage revealing the chilling sight of a lone gunman carrying a heavy weapon, stalking the floors of that mall. Police surrounding the perimeter, the violence sending families running for their lives. An American among the rescued. At least 20 people are dead tonight. Police say the suspect has been posting on social media throughout his killing spree. We want to warn you, some of the images are disturbing. ABC's Julia McFarland leading us off.
Tonight, a massacre at a popular shopping mall. A man identified as a Thai soldier on a bloody rampage with an assault rifle, posting about the carnage on Facebook. Shooting and killing at least 20 people and injuring dozens more in the city of Nakhon Ratchasima. Police releasing a wanted poster and naming the suspect as Jakrapan Thoma. A government official says this all began with a land dispute. The Thai army sergeant reportedly shot a superior officer at an army base. Shoppers running for their lives as a shooter opened fire. Police warning people to stay focused, hide safely and mute mobile phones. This security camera footage revealing the chilling sight of the lone gunman carrying a heavy weapon, stalking the floors of the Terminal 1 Korat Mall. Gunfire erupting as the troops push deeper into the mall, terrified passers-by crouching for cover in the parking lot.